Morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the successandmoneyfoundation.org. We're a nonprofit educational foundation, and our goal is to help you to have a better life. And we're going to be talking about the difference between striving and thriving. And it's really surviving. What's the one thing between, it's not even striving anymore, it's surviving. What's the difference between surviving, striving, and thriving? Well, there's one thing that you need to do that is the total difference all over the world. As I've done lots of research on this, there's one thing that people do that get them out of the survival mode, that gets them towards the thriving mode. That's all. And I've done a lot of research on it. You know what? And it's not make more money. Now, that's part of the formula, and that's very, very helpful, but it's not make more money. And number two, it's not spend less money. It's not either one of those two. It's something different. And only 1 out of 6 people, 1 out of 7 people are doing it around the world. And that's why we have so much challenges in the world, because people are not doing the one thing that they need to do to start thriving. And it's something my dad taught me when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. I learned this at a very, very young age. The story is that when I was a kid, I was helping my dad work on this house that he had bought that was next door to where I grew up. And it was hot. It wasn't having very much fun. And we were scraping this old paint off this house so we could repaint the house. I asked Dad if I was getting paid. And he goes, "No, son, get back to work." I'm 1 of 10 kids. So we didn't have, if you wanted money, you had to go earn it. You had to make it. So I had the gumption to ask him a little later. I says, "Dad, are you sure I can't get paid?" And he goes, "You know what, son, we bought this house. So we'd have some extra money to put you kids through college." Well, I didn't really care about college that much. And he could see that wasn't quite the answer I was looking for. And then he said something I'll never forget. He said, "Son, do you know some people make so much money off of their real estate, off their businesses, and off their investments that they don't have a job? All they do is manage those things." Now, can you imagine planting that seed of an idea in a teenager's head? Well, that went in there and it grew. And, I worked at the family car dealership, sweeping floors, cleaning the bathrooms and stuff like that, filling up the Coke machine. My first real job, though, was working at a truck stop as a dishwasher. And I would ride my bike, probably over a mile and a half away from where I lived, out to the outskirts of town where there was this truck stop. And I washed dishes there. And I worked for a couple of weeks, hard. We didn't make hardly any money at all. And I made my first $130. And so I brought it back and I said, "Dad, what do we do with this?" And he goes, "Well, let me teach you the steps. Let me teach you the habits. Number one, you got to learn how to make more money. As a dishwasher, you only make as much as other dishwashers. We can bring people to come in and wash dishes very easily. So as a result, you're not solving a bigger problem. That's the kind of money you make, but you got to learn how to make more money. Number two is you got to separate it. The key is separating it into 3 groups. Number 3 is you got to give some of it away. And so we took a little money, we gave a little bit of money away. And number 4 was to automatically invest. This is the most important thing that you can do, is to automatically invest. And number 5 was to save and spend. So we took that $130. And because I was pretty young, I didn't have a lot of expenses, we gave some of it away. And we took $100 of it, big chunk of it. And we started investing with it. And I was making 12% on my money. I had my own stock accounts. I had my own investment accounts. I had my own small little businesses. I was doing all that. And as I've researched people, and as I've looked really deep, and the one thing that you've got to do that makes a total difference, what's the one thing which is the difference between surviving and thriving, is step number 4. It's not making more money at your job, and it's not spending less money. Those are very helpful. You have to figure out how to get more money into step 4. You've got to get your investment accounts going, because when you start investing, the whole world changes. Everything changes. Everything you think about. And the key is the automatic. The key is the habit. Make the decision once, set it up so it automatically happens, and then set it. Don't forget it, but kind of forget it that, you don't have to make that decision every month. Do I want to put money away? Because there's all kinds of reasons why you can't. Now, here's what happens. You will survive on whatever money you have left over. If you have $100 in your pocket and you got 2 weeks to live, you'll live on that. If you've got $500 in your pocket, you'll live on that. The key is that as you make money, to have some of that money automatically moved. So whatever you got left, you'll figure out how to survive on it. And the problem is people don't get ahead of the curve. They don't get ahead of the surf. They're always behind because they never get enough money to go ahead. So the key is you've got to start. I don't care how much you put away. You got to get started. Your goal is to have $100. Now, when I had my first $100 in that account, my dad said that I was $100 heir. So the key is we want you to get that investment account open. Now, a lot of you, the only money you put in that investment account is the money I give you, and that dog don't hunt. My job is to help you create a habit. It's your job to take care of your family and yourself. It's your job to get ahead of the curve. It's your job to get that money into that investment account and start making money. Now, with that investment account, step 6 is how you're really going to thrive. You've got to take whatever small business you got, because most people have a small business, and guess what? It's a job. It doesn't matter if you go work for somebody else or if you got a small business and you're working for yourself. If you don't have systems to make that small business into a larger business, then it's just a job and you're stuck in number 1. Step 6, habit 6, you got to add real estate. You got to add some real estate, and you got to add your small business to a large business. And if you can do that, and you can take that money that you're making out of step 6 and put it away, it's no different than step 4, because step 6 is to make more money, and it recycles. So if you're making money, you're flipping real estate, you're doing whatever you're doing on that, you're making money, and that's your separate account, and it's making money. And then you do the wealth formula. The wealth formula was taught to me as a teenager. You take money from your business, you take money from your real estate, you take money from your investments. You put money away every month, times it's got to go up in value. You can't leave your money in a stupid checking account where you're loaning money to the bank and they're screwing you over. Everybody's out for your money. Everybody wants your money, and everybody's going to nickel and dime you and everything else to take your money. Every dollar, every peso, every yuan that comes into your world is doing one of 2 things. Number 1, you are either destroying it or you're making it grow. You're either destroying it or you're making it grow. And you say, well, how am I destroying money? Well, first of all, if you are on this earth, you're probably spending money, unless you're mooching off your parents, which I'd recommend you do as long as you can get that other money to go work for you. But you got to survive. You got to make money. And then number 5 is you've got to be able to survive. You got to be able to make enough money to survive. And you know what? The governments of the world suck. They're not doing their job. The United States government needs to have a minimum of 3% a year inflation to make their math stay stable. And in rough years, that inflation is 7-8%. But in order to make the math work, it's not 2% anymore. It's got to be at least 3, because they've got bills they've got to pay, and they're printing money and they're borrowing money like crazy people, and they have to print more money. So that means everything else is more expensive. Step 5, save and spend. It's more expensive to live, and it's going to get worse. You go back 10 years ago, you go back 20 years ago, and you look at what something costs. Well, it's worse today than it was 20 years ago. And you're not making that much more money. When I and Don first got married, we could buy a house for 3 times what we made as a salary. So whatever it was 3 times, and that was a small starter home, but you made, just for fun, we'll say $30,000, you could buy a little house for 100, 110, 115. It's 3 to 3.5. Now it's 7 times, 8 times. So if you owned a lot of real estate, that's wonderful because you made a lot of money off of inflation, appreciation. But if you didn't, you're getting crushed because now your rent, we were first place we rented as when I was going to college, it was $100 for three of us. Well, that same little rental unit right now is 1,100. It's 11x since I was in college. So you have to get number 6 going. You got to get number 6 going. You got to make more money with these other things. And then when you make that money, you got to get it down into 7. We need to get you to survive. We need you to be wealthy. And the key is to get that money into your investment account. Now, as we talk about that, there is some fun stuff that I want to take you to real quick. And basically what I want you to do is I want you to be looking up and showing us where you are making money. All right. So let's go ahead and we're going to go here to the website. And okay, so here we are on the website right here. Now, when you come here to the site, to the website, I want you to be able to come here to, after you log in over here on number 7, what are your 7 steps wealth summary? This is key right here. So you come over here to 7.14. What are they? Well, there are 7 of them. I'm making more money. I'm separating my money. I'm giving. I'm automatically investing. I'm saving and spending sparingly. I'm doing multiple streams of income, real estate and business. And then I'm doing the wealth formula. The key is to click off this number 4. Make sure that you're doing that one. This is the first 7 steps. And you need to be clicking on those. Now, some of you are going, well, I don't know what to do next. It's all confusing. I don't know what to do. Well, here's your detailed checklist right there. You go to 7.15, and this takes those 7 steps and it gives you basically another 90 or 100 sub-steps of things that you can do, classes that you can go through, and you need to go check these babies off as fast as you can. There's make more money with your job. What are the things that you can do to do that? And then when it's complete, you just click on complete. So, have I made 10 sales calls today? Yep, I've done that before. Hit it complete there. I made my first sale. Yep, but done that before. So these are what we call courage in action, little things that you've got to do in order to get going and be successful. So as you're getting going, I want you to come down here to 7.14, my 7 steps to wealth summary, as well as my 7 steps to wealth detail. And it's also one of the leaderboards that we have here. So you can come down here to 4.11. This is my 7 steps. You can find it there as well. And when you're ready to update it, click here to update your 7 steps. There you are. And that's kind of a shortcut to get you there. You can go back here to leaderboards and come down here to my detailed checklist on 4.12. Click here to update your 7 steps. And you can see here's all the people that have done it. Here's all these people that have done all 100 of those. Congratulations. That's awesome. There's some people who are just getting started. There's people on just barely getting on the road. There's people that are just doing the first thing. It doesn't matter where you are as long as you're on the road and as long as you're moving in the right direction. So that's kind of the key, guys, of what you've got to do. There's one thing that successful people do financially that gets them out of the survival mode. They're striving to get somewhere else, but they're not thriving. And they're not thriving because they're not investing. You've got to learn how to make more money. And you got to figure out how to get 5, 10, 15, 20% of that money down into your long-term investing. That means that you got to spend less money, but you got to go make more money. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next section. We're going to do the 30-day quick cash challenge. And Daryl's a perfect example of this. Wonderful guy. He teaches at a school. And he makes money as a teacher. And that's awesome. But he made as much money doing one deal as he did teaching. Same thing for me and my wife, LaDawn. We made as much money flipping real estate as I did working a full-time job that was a really pretty intense job because I was traveling and doing all kinds of stuff. And we made as much money flipping real estate or close to that as we did working that job, which took all of our time. And the real estate flip was part-time. So that's the key, guys. The one difference that makes all the difference is that only 16% of the people around the world have an investment account and are actively investing. In the Philippines, it's about 3%. United States, it's about 60, because we've incorporated that into your job, into your pay, into your compensation. Now, you want to know why some countries are thriving? Well, that's it. You look at that and that's it. You look at countries that are not thriving, and it's because the people do not have long-term investment accounts where they're investing as they go. They're not planting their money trees. They're just surviving. Well, screw the surviving. I'm tired of surviving. We need to get you to thrive. I mean, more than anything else, we need to get you wealthy. So we're going to talk about that in the next section. But the key is, guys, you need to put your own money in. And you know what? You can make your first $100. My dad told me that when I did this, I was $100 heir. So I made my first $100. And guess what, guys? You can do that right here. So as we come into here, we'll go back to the website here. Here's the courses, earn rewards. There's your $100 fast track courses right here. You make your first $100. And you know what? I'm going to pay you $10 an hour to get through this first chunk, because it's so important that we get that first $100 in there and get it going. I want you all to be a $100 heir. And then I want you to add step 6. We need to add layers and layers and more pieces to this. But we've increased this for this next little while. So you can get your first $100 by doing the first 10 hours of these on-course classes. You can do the 1-minute quick start right there. And you can see for the next little while, we've really jacked up the value, the reward on that. Share the wealth and win. Create your wealth and win. Now, some of you have already gone through these in previous ones. You got to get through the 7 Habits book. You got to get through the 7 Habits book and the 7 Habits course. Now, if you just did those things right there, you'd have $50. And if you want to start with $50, I don't care, but you got to get going. That was the first 50 right there. Then y'all need to make more money with your job. So we're going to give you extra money to do that. Multiple streams of income, step 6, right there. Make more money with your small business, part of 6. Side hustles, make more money. Real estate, that's probably the fastest, quickest way you're going to make big chunks of money, is by flipping some real estate. Now, the other stuff is the young investor stuff, which is once you've made the money, you can start doing more of that. And so that, sorry, my screen's not showing right here. Let me recapture that, baby. There we go. Sorry about that one. Okay, so 1 minute quick start right here, $5. Share the wealth, $5. Create your wealth and win, 10. 7 Habits book and course, $30. And then you go through these other pieces. Make more with your job. Step 6, multiple streams. Make more money with your small business. Turn it into a big business. Side hustles. What are some of the high side hustles you can do? Real estate course, we're going to flip something. And then, of course, many of you really want to learn about investing and stuff like that. And you can do more of that one right there. So, guys, that's the key right here. One thing. It's the one thing that if you do that one thing and you create the habit of doing that one thing, now automatically you want it done, but automatically you want to keep watching it. You know, people visualize their home and their all this other stuff. I visualize walking into my office, going over to the cabinet, opening the door and seeing all these investment accounts that are making us money. That's what turns my crank. Okay. It's not spending the money on cars and all this other crap. It's making money, because that's a game and games are fun. Guys, you want to be able to make money and you want to be able to give it away. You're going to have more fun giving it away than you are spending it on silly things. I want you to do all those things. There's stuff on your bucket list. I want you to travel. I want you to have a better home. I want you to have better food. I want your kids to have better food. I want you to start investing for your children. I'm working with my brother on a system that my mom and dad implemented in 1984. Then they had 12 grandchildren. And we were in the car business, and we had a tow truck. And my parents gave the tow truck to the grandkids. And so it could start making extra money. And so we had extra money from the corporation and stuff going to that new entity. And there's 12 grandkids. And then it would make money, but we'd invest it. And they all had their own accounts. Well, my mom and dad have both passed away. And right now, there are still 86 grandkids. There's been over 100 people affected by it that have money in those accounts. And guess what? When we water it, we grow it. When they get to be 21, they can take that money for real estate and put it in real estate. They can put it in a business. They can put it in for schooling. But they grew money trees for their kids. Your job is to do that right now. You got kids. Guess what? You're going to give them a head start. Not only are you going to get an investment account for yourself, but you're going to get your kids one, and then you're going to teach them how to water their own money tree, because eventually they're going to grow a whole orchard of money trees. That's what my parents did, and it has made a massive difference on their kids, their grandkids, and their great-grandkids. It gave them all a step up. So there's two things. One is the investment accounts that were set up for them, but number two is the knowledge. And if you can only give one thing to somebody, love money, knowledge, or experience with money, what's the most important thing? Well, it's not the money. Money comes, money goes. If you don't know how to make it, you're just out. Knowledge is helpful, but if you don't do anything with the knowledge, then it's worthless. I'd rather have somebody pull the trigger and do one thing than to study on it for 10 hours versus just go pull the trigger and make it happen. Okay. I'm not interested in book knowledge. I'm interested in going out in the world and playing the game. And that's what you've got to start doing, guys. You're going to do it for yourself and you can do it for your kids. So right now, I'll make a pledge. I'm going to get my kids on the right track. I'm going to teach them knowledge, but more importantly, I'm going to teach them through action. So each of your kids should have an investment account. Each of your kids should have a small business. Each of your kids should be making money and managing that money. And you can teach them that. Each of your kids should have an account here where they're going through class and earning money. But more importantly, you're teaching them the knowledge. And then the most important thing is pulling the trigger and making it happen. The difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is not knowledge. It's pulling the trigger and doing something and learning from it. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to pull that trigger. You've got to go make it happen. And I don't care if you fail. In fact, we have a saying that says fail fast and learn from it. You're not going to know the correct answer on stuff until you try it. And then you try it and you learn from it. The key is to learn from it. You make a mistake, you go say, well, the information I had, if I was to make that same decision today and I had that same information, would I make that same decision? Even if you lost money on stuff. And I lost millions and millions of dollars. This is, doing some of my venture stuff. But with the information I had then, and I researched it and stuff like that, I made a mistake. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes. Your job is to win more than 50% of the time. Reduce your losses, increase your upside, and go make it happen, guys. But your real key here is to help those that you love. So I want you to share your link. So when you come here, you're going to come here and you're going to come back up here to the site. You're going to come to earn rewards. And then I want you to enroll your family, but more importantly, your family and friends. And there's your link right there. You're going to copy that link right here. And then you're going to share that with your kids. Because when you do that, they're part of your group. Okay. They're part of your group. So again, you're going to come here to start it here. You're going to earn rewards. You're going to come down here to 2.1, enroll your family and friends. And there's your personal link. There's all the ways that you can make money on it. There's your QR code. Take a picture of your own personal QR code. Ethan's a genius. He's figured out how to build your own QR code. And then if you want to have a printable one piece of paper that you can put up on your door, or whatever it is, if people are coming in, you can just click right here and it will print a one piece of paper with your own personalized QR code. And then they're connected to you. You got family and friends want to earn $100. Well, they just got to go through the basic classes. That's the key, guys. So I want you to sign up your kids and I want you to teach them, give them the knowledge. You know what? And I'm not going to tell them anything different than you are, but they need to hear it from another voice besides just you. They need to hear it from another voice. And then you need to walk the walk and talk the talk, because they're not going to, they're too busy watching what you do versus what you say. So you can't tell them you're doing something and then you're not doing it. Go do it. Be the example. And then they're going to grow up and they're going to follow that example. That's the key. Guys, thanks for watching. That's the key to making this happen. My goal is to help you get your first $100 in your investment account. And you know what? And I'm happy to help you with my money and my wife's money to give that to you. But really, this is you doing this. You should be adding to that. How do we look at success at the foundation? Number one, it's great. We look at all the students we got. Number two, it's great to see all the hours you got. But you know what really is important? The number of people that invested, got an investment account open and have started investing. Because once you do that, everything else follows. Once you do that, everything else follows. So get those investment accounts going, get that money funded, and ride the roller coaster, because we're going to be riding this roller coaster for 10, 20, 30 years. Let's get ahead of it. Thanks for watching, everybody. We're going to be right back with our next section.